Happy to see all of you tonight. I'd like to call the meeting of the regular board meeting of the Port Arthur EDC to order on Monday, June the 3rd at 6:01. May I have a roll call, please?
Beverly Raymond. Here. Kayla Jacobs. Jerry LaBeouf.
Here.
Morris Albright.
Here.
Ingrid Holmes.
Here.
Daryl Anderson. Melvin Getwood. We have a quorum.
Thank you. If you would, please stand and join us. Ms. Raymond, if you give us the invocation, please.
Especially the board and staff of EDC, and help us to be about the business of growing this cooperation effectively and professionally. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. If you'll join us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The board has received a copy of the minutes from the last meeting of 5/6/24. May I have a motion, please? May I have a second? It's been moved and second to approve the minutes of the May 6th meeting. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposition? Motion carries. We'll move to, there being no presentations, communication, State of the City luncheon on July 23rd. Mr. Stokes?
Yes, Directors, you have a flyer in your packet, and we will be sponsoring that by way.
Say that again?
Try that again. Sorry about that, Directors. Yes, on July 23rd, the Chamber of Commerce will be hosting the State of the City luncheon. We will, if you so desire, get a table for both yourselves as well as staff. We'll present that to you. We have plenty of time to do that. And as you can see from the flyer, Honorable City Manager Ron Burton will be the keynote speaker.
Okay. Thank you. Next, we'll go to speakers. We have two people who have turned in a public comment. I'll ask, and I don't have, yes, I do. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to speak. So I ask that Mr. Labrie with Mid-County Plaza come up. Mr. Labrie. May I ask someone to keep up with the 3 minutes?
All right, say when.
Okay. Let me let him introduce himself before we get started. If you would, sir, introduce yourself and tell us what.
Okay, Henry LaBrie. We have several companies. We're a developer. We have around 70 plus real estate properties in Jefferson County.
Mm-hmm.
We're building in Orange County also, and Jasper and Corpus Christi. We're looking to do some.
Okay, you can start his 3 minutes now.
We've been
Sir.
trying to do some development at the Port Arthur Business Park since May last year. We were told the property was not available there was some infrastructure from the Commerce Department they were checking into or filing applications. What we really need to do is find out, we've got a denial on one of our projects, but the way, we try to operate, if you're gonna say we can't approve that, give me something you can approve, so we can build and make changes. I mean, we're here to generate taxes in Port Arthur. There is a lot of companies that we've had to move elsewhere. I'll give you some names: Four Horn Equipment Rental, four-horn HVAC and power. I've had to move Centos to Beaumont on a 24,000 square foot warehouse. They want to get to Port Arthur. I have another company right now that sold their building in Port Arthur, it's a safety company. And they're in the process, they've approached me, and they gave me like 6 months to 7 months to build them a new facility, and they would like to be in the business. They're in Port Arthur already, but they want to stay in Port Arthur because a lot of our requests for companies that come in, there's very rare if a company comes in town to needing a building, that they don't contact us. People know that we have ability to build and build very quickly. And we have the opportunities to work with a lot of different companies that really won't put out their address. They asked me about the business park, and I told them, as far as I know, it's been shut down. It's not available. And the property was not available. So what I've done is I even had them contact about the property itself. So what I've done is I'm here today. I tried to get on the agenda in May for this tonight, and I was found out yesterday that we wasn't on the agenda. So I'm here. I'm sure my 3 minutes is up, and I just need to find out what it takes to get some property in the business park so I can accommodate some more clients.
All right, thank you, sir, for your comments.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I have a question.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
This is not an agenda, we can't discuss it.
Okay.
It's gotta be agendized, we have questions and back and forth.
All right. Thank you.
Point of order, we used to ask questions in council
Well,
to presenters.
Yeah, I appreciate that. You can ask questions if it's on the agenda. If it's not on the agenda, you can't discuss it.
So you're saying a write-in, if it was,
If it was an agendized item, then yes, you could have a discussion all day long. But since it's not on the agenda, you can't have a discussion about it or ask questions. You can't have a debate about it.
I understand, Attorney, what you're saying, but I have a problem with why it's not on the agenda. We did request it to place on the agenda, so.
I don't know the answer to that.
Make sure
I don't know the answer to that question. Y'all should put that on the agenda, but this is not on the agenda. You can't have a discussion about it.
all right, I've got a question. Mr. Suggs, why wasn't it on the agenda if it was requested?
I have nothing to do with the agenda other than receiving emails.
No, that's not true, sir. That is not true. It's not the president's responsibility, it's you and your staff to put together this agenda. And please answer the question.
I just did, sir.
okay. Thank you, Mr. Stokes and Mr. Albright. If there are some specific agenda questions we can put on the agenda for next month, a discussion of agenda items. We can also talk about any of these other things, but as the attorney has suggested, we cannot have any back and forth discussion about that particular item because it is not on the agenda.
Correct.
We'll move on to the next public comment sign-in. It's regarding, and please note that this too is not on the agenda. So it is strictly a comment from our next speaker, and who has 3 minutes to speak. Mr. Batiste, if you introduce yourself, and then we'll start your 3 minutes.
My request would be, because I was told we are on the agenda, if not on the agenda, I didn't hear the previous discussion. I would request that you put it on the agenda because it is a discussion about the press building. And 3 minutes, we have to discuss, because if you want to understand what's going on, there has to be a discussion. So I move that we put it on the next agenda.
Okay.
Y'all mind?
So you have no comment? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Batiste. If Mr. Baptiste expressed an interest in talking about the EDA grant, and I'm assuming one of the board members wants to hear more about the EDA grant. That is something, if you want to consider it, please put it on the agenda for next month. Okay, okay, okay. All right.
Okay, yeah, because I had requested to be, I was gonna put on the agenda, but after he mentioned that he was going, I did not put on the agenda. Any other time I knew that he was not gonna be placed on the agenda, I would have put it on the agenda. So I apologize for that, but we'll move forward.
Okay, and we'll put it for discussion or comment under the future agenda items. Okay. Mr. Stokes, your report, please.
Yes, thank you, Madam Vice President and Directors. I will be brief. My report, the primary thing that I want to highlight is our activity over the last month or so as it relates to community and workforce and community development, specifically our scholarship program as well as our youth employment program for the summer. Let me start with the scholarship program. You had originally funded 5 scholarships back in February, and happy to say that we had some incredible applicants, very well qualified, very well deserving. In terms of distribution, back on the 15th, I was able to attend Memorial High School's award, end of the year award night, and was able to present those 5 awards to a very deserving group of folks. However, as I continue to evaluate the applicants that came in, along with team, I felt that there were 3 additional applicants that were very well deserving. Their qualifications and things that they had achieved over the course of their curriculum and academic career were very similar to those that had been awarded. And so, long story short, I decided to approach you all about perhaps expanding the program for this fiscal year to award those 3 additional folks, which would also allow the program to be a little more balanced. Like I said, the 5 that were funded happened to all go to Memorial High School folks, well deserving. But we have some folks that, a couple from Bob Hope and 1 from Tekoa, that are also equally deserving. So that will be covered when we get to that item, but I did want to touch upon that. As a matter of fact, in terms of budgeting, I will be recommending to the board that the program going forward be doubled from the 5 to the 10. We have well-deserving students, and we certainly have a high demand for the types of courses that we provide this scholarship for in conjunction with Lamar. And I don't foresee that demand wavering in any time soon. So it'll be my recommendation when we get to budgeting that we increase that funding. As far as the summer intern program, we have 10 slots. Again, some very, very qualified and just exciting about the kids that applied for the program. Just this morning, the Health Services Division selected 2 of the folks, so we're down to 8. We're working very diligently with the local businesses as well as continuing to work with the City of Port Arthur to put these additional 8 so that they have good work to do over the course of the summer. Program kicks off on the 17th officially and terminates on the 1st of September. So we have plenty of time, but you know, if we can all turn back the clock back to that age, the kids are kind of champing at the bit to get going, and so we want to place them as quickly as we possibly can. Last thing I'll mention on that, with the help of the City of Port Arthur's Human Resources Division this morning, the letter of participation was distributed to all department heads first thing this morning. So look forward to hearing from them. And like I said, Health Services took advantage of taking 2 of the students. So this was my first time sinking my teeth into it. So it's really neat just to see the type of applicants we're getting and the type of students that are coming out of our school system. I will defer everything else. So the other thing that Madam Vice President, you asked for last time in terms of an update on the strategic plan. Just very briefly, I will produce drafts in August. Then those drafts will be presented at the board September meeting, and the overall document will be released on October 1st in conjunction with the fiscal year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions?
So you mentioned it last meeting. Hello?
There you go.
Okay. You mentioned about sending letters out to businesses regarding the U program. So did you get a opportunity to send out those letters? And what businesses were they? Do you recall?
Went to all of our park tenants, went to all of the lists that we used last year, because those are the ones that tended to be repeat users and already familiar with the program. So I'm giving them 3 days to hear back from them. So like I say, we're down to 8 now. We want to have everyone get plucked, and then the folks that we sent out last week didn't even get a chance to reply. Haven't heard anything since, if you haven't heard anything, say, Wednesday, then we will follow up and go to the next tier of those. So the primary list went to those that participated last year.
So they're supposed to be starting to work when June the 17th? Okay, so we have only 2 students right now that we participate in this program. And the businesses, you can't recall what businesses you send the letters to.
Well, yeah, I will provide you the list.
Okay.
It's everyone that participated last year, in addition to everyone that's at the park.
And what about the application? Did they go out to the various schools?
Yes.
Okay, all of them received the applications. And how many did we get back?
This was just Friday, so, like I said, I hope to start getting those back over the next couple of days and making sure that we're keeping up with it and getting it to process as quickly as possible. And as I mentioned, because this was my first time dealing with this, my counterpart in human resources has been very, very helpful in guiding through and making sure that we have a system in place to get people on board as quickly as possible.
Okay, another question regarding that, dealing with workforce development. On the Workforce Development Training Center, I understand how many students have went through that program so far. I understand it's 100 within 5 years. How many students?
Page 3 of my report, there's
Okay.
a detailed report that's been provided by Dr. Stafford, and as a matter of fact, he will be, at your pleasure, he plans on attending the next meeting, providing a more detailed update, and this report that you see, this team will provide that on a monthly basis.
Okay, and hopefully they will include the names of the students along with the city of where they're located and where they're working at. Okay, I hope that it will be included. Yeah, yeah, and it's supposed to put out the residents, so we would like the name, the city, and where they're working. Where they're working. And how many been completed so far? I was talking to him. Okay, he helped you out, I guess 83. Okay, that's a good number. You got to be gonna complete within 5 years. That's a good thing.
Since we own that, Mr. Stokes, I talked to Dr. Stafford about this. He said in 2 months you should have the 100. And we did talk about the CDL program. And he assures me the CDL program is part of the training center, which you said it was not part of the training center. No, you said it.
I'm not questioning that, sir. To err is human. To forgive is divine. I may have been separating out their operation up north in northern Jefferson County, but as the contract clearly states, both the CDL as well as the programs that are done inside the building are all a part of the mix that gets counted towards that overall contract. So as he said, good news is that we're moving towards that in terms of the 100. We may want to go back and, since this is going so well, we may want to enter into another type of agreement.
Well, the thing it is, when you're going to state something like that, you need to be correct with it. Number two, we gave money, so we're double dipping now with the CDL program. So I don't know, maybe we need to retract our motion that we made for the 100 and whatever $1,000 until they finish this 100 and then come back to it.
Would you?
I'm really sorry, but where is this on the agenda?
This is under his CEO report, and she opened her mouth about it.
I recognize that, but this is, I don't see any of this on the agenda, and this is supposed to be a report. The public has a right to know if you're going to have a debate about an issue, so it needs to be properly posted on the agenda so the public can be present to.
I don't think this is a debate. This is
Well,
facts.
I think,
My point is you can't have a discussion about it unless it's properly posted on the agenda. Put it on the agenda and you can discuss it all day long.
I understand what you're saying, in terms of past practice, whenever you present this report, we always question differently.
Okay, well, I just don't see anything on here that says CDL. So where would the public know that you're going to have a discussion about that? Right, but written on the agenda, where does it say CDL? Where would the public know, based on the face of the agenda, that you were going to have a discussion about this?
It is part of the workforce development program that she presented from this report, and CDL is a part of it.
Right, and I think that the public in general wouldn't know that. And it needs to be more specifically listed on the agenda if we anticipate having a discussion back and forth. If y'all want to continue, you're free to continue. You can ignore what I'm telling you. I'm just telling you what I think the law is with respect to these things. So feel free to continue having a debate if you choose to. I'm just telling you that the law requires a posting of an agenda to give the public appropriate notice of what's going to be discussed. If you believe that this notice does that, then I sit back because you would know better than I, based on what the public would or would not know based on this agenda. So I'm just letting you know what the law is.
thank you, Mr. Attorney, and we will certainly take into recommendation what you said because you are the attorney. And any agenda items or any conversation that we want to have specifically regarding a program that is going on based on the comment of our attorney, we need to ensure that it is on next month's agenda. My question for you, Mr. Attorney, if there is a question specifically about his report and something he talks about, can we ask a question then?
Sure. So let me just tell you what the law is. So I tell you this because there's cases directly on point where just general items were listed and discussion was held and the court held that wasn't sufficient notice to the public.
Right.
All right. So if you would like for him to list the specific items within the workforce community development update, so it's more specifically listed on the agenda, that's the recommendation that I would make. I would also recommend that if there are specific things within the report that you want to address specifically, that you ask that it be placed on the agenda as a specific agenda item for discussion, again, so the public will know that the discussion is occurring.
Sir, I appreciate your comment, but please don't interrupt our meeting like that. Please don't interrupt our meeting like that. I respect your comment, but please don't do that.
Are you finished? Okay. Do me a favor. Notice how I didn't interrupt you when you were, notice how I didn't interrupt you when you were speaking? I would appreciate the same favor to me if I'm speaking that you wait until I'm finished before you interrupt. Okay. I would appreciate the common courtesy. That's all I'm saying. The law,
Sir, please don't interrupt him. If you would like to get on the agenda to make a comment, please fill out a form. Go ahead, sir.
law just requires specificity.
Thank you.
With respect to what's gonna be discussed.
There's one thing I would like to add. I understand what you're saying, attorney, but it's so important to be consistent. We would not be having these issues if we have the community that asks items to be placed on the agenda, be placed on the agenda. And we would not be having these type of discussions and interruptions. So we need to be consistent. I understand what you're saying. I respect what you're saying because you are an attorney. But if someone requests these items be placed on the agenda, and this has been an ongoing problem for months. We didn't have these problems before I was on the board, but after I got off, came back, I'm hearing this ongoing about items being placed, and it's not fair to the community. It's not fair to the public. These are taxpaying people who pay taxes. If the request be placed on the agenda, we need, and this is the main reason why we're having these issues. So I understand what you're saying, but we need consistency on this board.
I don't disagree with anything that you said, ma'am. I would point out, though, that it's this board that has authority to place things on the agenda. The public generally does not have the right to place things on the agenda, so if you would like the public to have the right to place things on the agenda, this board should adopt a policy that authorizes and allows that.
And I want to correct, I meant to say the board.
Okay,
And the
yeah.
issue is the board has requested items be placed.
Okay.
It's not been placed, so excuse me for saying that, you are correct.
I'm sorry, I
Board
misunderstood.
member also having problems with items being placed.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
If a request is made, does that mean it's automatically going to be placed on the board's agenda?
So again, what we're talking
We
about
can't
right
talk
now
about
isn't on the
that.
agenda. So if we want to put an agenda item on that discusses how things get on the agenda, and I think Director Albright has already requested that we do that at the workshop, and we plan on going through that process. But you can certainly put it on the agenda before that to have a discussion about adopting that policy. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Respect that. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Albright.
Yes, are we allowed to discuss the financial report?
It's on the agenda. It's on the agenda.
Okay.
Is it? No, it's not on the agenda. Have you completed your report, Mr.
Yes, ma'am, I
Stokes?
have.
Yeah, I don't see the financial.
The financial report is not on the agenda. I
Oh,
think
sure.
there's
Yeah, at agenda item 5, absolutely.
5.
Staffing updates. You didn't address staffing updates.
He's going to discuss that at agenda, no?
We on the first page, staff.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to see where else we would discuss finance. Okay, we're not discussing finance. Do you have any information that you want to provide to us about the staffing, Mr. Stokes?
Yes, ma'am. Just briefly, and again, this is in the report. Two things. In the last meeting, you were introduced to our new Business Attraction, Retention, and Expansion Manager. Upon completing that individual's onboarding, Deputy Mueller and myself turned our full attention towards the recruitment of our workforce and community development individual. We've begun the process of conducting interviews. That will probably go through the remainder of this month. Everything stays on track. We expect to have someone in place sometime in August. So that is the primary update there, and that, again, that echoes what I have in my report.
Great, thank you. Mr. LeBeau, and then,
So we have several people who have applied for the position of a development manager?
Workforce and Community Development, we received approximately 113 applications. And that answers the question that you've been wondering, why it's taking so long. So we have to give each one of those applications due diligence. And now we're down to conducting interviews.
Yeah. I really don't know what you can ask and what you can't ask,
Well,
where
let's
you
try.
can ask anymore.
Let's try.
Used to, we would open up with the CEO's report, and I don't know, it's kind of tricky. If you go off the CEO's report, then you're just in water and you drown. So what I wanted to know was, as of May the 14th, which was the other day, your 16-month move to Port Arthur.
That is not a topic for discussion at this point. We'll have to postpone that discussion because it's not on the agenda.
Is that correct, Attorney?
I don't see anything about his move 16 months ago on this particular agenda.
On number 7, they have
When,
Right, but we're not at number 7.
Well,
We're item 3, reports.
when we get to another section in the agenda and there's an opportunity for that question to be answered, we can do it then. But at this point, it has not been introduced.
That's good. Like I said, it's just confusing totally.
Okay. All right, we'll move.
One more thing. This report that you gave us,
He's speaking of a copy of the executive officer's report from May and June 2024.
right, May meeting, you said you was going to have out the first week your CEO report and the financial report. You was going to give it to us because you were so busy. And so we haven't received it. I haven't received anything. And so what you're doing is putting 2 on 1 now?
I have to make decisions on priorities. If you look at Director Raymond's questions, you look at Director Albright's questions, you look at your questions, 3 ends of the spectrum. As I just mentioned to Director Raymond, some 113 applications for one position that we have to very importantly fill. So those decisions that are made, not going to please everybody. But I am going to do day in and day out the very best that I can. If that best is not acceptable, no problem.
Mr. Stokes, thank you for that comment. Go ahead.
As far as the financials, that topic is on here in terms of me and staff requesting some direction, and we'll cover that when we get to that particular line item.
Just one recommendation, Mr. Stokes. As you discuss and prepare for your financials, and I recognize your schedule, I recommend that maybe your finance person is here to respond to some of those questions and those kinds of things. I think that that would be helpful for you if she were here to be able to work with you, because I understand that as you set your priorities.
And in fact, that was a request of Director Albright, and that's no problem. As soon as we get a little bit of direction from you all in terms of what you want to see, and I don't want to jump ahead, that's why we put this item on here, so that we can make sure that we are addressing the requests that we've received. But we've got conflicting requests as it relates to the financials. I want to make sure that we're giving you exactly what you need to make decisions on.
Conflicting requests.
I don't want to jump ahead. It's already on here.
Okay, because I don't want our financials to have anything conflicting.
No.
Can we move on with the agenda?
Please.
No, I'm going to ask him a question.
Go ahead.
How long has this opening been, that you're going to interview for, been available or needed?
Two different questions. We posted in March.
That's when the person left? How long has this been vacant?
Sir, these are brand-new positions that have never existed before, so it's not a function of someone left. These positions never existed. They were approved by the board, which you were a member of last August, in terms of the personnel schedule and the overall budget to retain these folks, and that's what I'm operating under.
So that was last August, you're saying?
I'm saying that that is when the budget for this fiscal year was approved.
I'm talking about you saying it was approved to start looking for a person, is that correct?
No, sir.
How long has it been then?
The job was posted in March of this year.
Okay, with that, we'll move on to consent agenda item number 1. Review, discussion, and possible action regarding the renewal of a contract with Frey Landscape LLC for landscaping and irrigation services at the Spur 93 and Jade Avenue Business Parks.
Second.
It's been moved and second to approve consent agenda item number 1. Any discussion, I'm sorry. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition? Motion carries. Non-consent agenda item number 1, review, discussion, and possible action regarding a proposal provided to the City of Port Arthur by R. Snow, Wilson & Co. LLC for the Port Acres wastewater treatment plant engineering study. Ms.
Make a motion.
Second? Was that a second, Mr.? Second. Okay. It's been moved and second to approve agenda item number 1. All those in favor? Any discussion?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Well, I see Mr. Tomini here. Can we hear from Mr. Tomini?
Of course.
Was that your request? Of course.
Good afternoon. How are you doing today?
Good.
Let me give you an idea why this item is on the agenda. The land at 4 acres is permitted to treat 3.8 million gallons a day of wastewater. The average daily flow today is around 2.5 million gallons a day. About 12% of that volume comes from the EDC part, which is equivalent to 300,000 gallons a day. The TCQ rules state that when your average day gets close to the 75% of the permitted flow, which is 2,850,000 gallons, you should immediately start the design of the plant. When it reaches 90%, you should immediately start the construction of the plant. 90% is about 3.4 million gallons a day. So to put this in numbers that you all are familiar with, if the EDC part gets another MPW, that would push us very close to that 75% that would require us to go into the design phase. So what we're trying to do here is be proactive, do the study that we need to do in order to determine what this plant's capacity should be in the near future with the EDC part developments as well as citywide developments that come to that plant in order to start the process. So if a year from now, or 2 years from now, you get a business that wants to discharge 300,000 gallons a day, or the city gets a development of 5 hotels and an event center, we will be able to serve them. We will not tell them, sorry, you don't have the capacity to do that. So we're trying to be proactive, do our homework, and be ready for that phase that hopefully the city will go to, because from the developments we see, it is getting there. We have 100 hotels and we've never had all the developments you see on the highway, new restaurants, so we're just trying to be ready for it. We do not want to be caught in a position where we are not ready to serve new clients that want to come to invest tens of millions of dollars in the city.
Mr. Hall?
Yes, sir. 2 quick things. If I'm coming from West Port Arthur Road, going back towards Port Arthur. Okay? How much of that is Port Acres wastewater treatment plant?
The Port Acres area is entirely going to that plant.
Right, but is any part of 365 past West Port Arthur Road heading towards Port Neches?
You're talking about 365.
Yeah, I'm talking about 365.
Going
Or Nederland, whatever you want to call it.
to Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy
Okay.
Johnson is coming in this direction. So if the Jimmy Johnson extension eventually gets built, all that development will also end up here, including the hospital.
So the wastewater, the West Port Arthur. Now, is the hospital
Yes.
in it? Okay. Now, how much of the split is the city asking us to pay for?
The total contract amount, I believe, is around $148,000, and the EDC share is around 47.
That's not the numbers we were given.
51.
51.9.
And the 148 includes the study as well as an evaluation for the electrical system in the plant. Because that's one of the weak links we have here. So it's
All right.
51, so approximately 33%.
So, hold on just a second. Let me make sure that,
Can I ask you a question while he's looking?
yeah.
So this is a study only, right?
Correct.
So when the study's over with and y'all get to start spending millions of dollars because of the study, are you gonna come back to the EDC for money?
It's too early to talk about that. I really cannot give you an answer for that. First of all, I'm not the one who makes that decision. That would be above our grade, whether it is a city manager or council decision for sure. So I can't give you an answer for it. You know I can't give you an answer. Our goal, one more time, is to be ready for whatever is coming our way. We have to be ready. We cannot tell people, you cannot build a Port Arthur because I don't have the capacity.
And I'm gonna go back to your number. Your percentage number, I'm gonna bump it up.
51 out of 148 is about 34.7%, 35%
Right.
out of my head.
But you said we're 12%. And so let's call it 20% for future. Because somewhere down the line, we're gonna get to a big argument. And it in this phase of this, future phase. So let's put some boundaries out right now. We're gonna start fighting at a later date. But I'm fine with this, but I'd like to do it 20%, and I'd like to do a motion to change the number.
Mr. Conrad, just very quick. The city and the EDC should never get in a fight with the main. I mean, we are partners. We are one team, one group of people trying to bring the city to where it should be. The reason these numbers are like they are, because this is the funding that we have available this year that we have to spend and put on this project. And that's how what was broken in that formula. It's not because I want you all to pay more or less or anything like that.
Well, nothing changes from y'all being able to adjust your budget. Nothing says the study can't start.
Nothing says what, sorry.
Nothing says you can't adjust your budget.
I mean, it's not about adjusting the budget, it's what we have available today to finish this year with, without going over the budget. Because our goal is never to go over the budget.
How many times have y'all gone over budget
This year, we're over budget.
We're not going to discuss the city's budget.
Well, no, but what I'm trying to say is I think the burden they're putting on us is kind of like the lift station that we took the whole load on, okay? We get no revenue, and they get revenue from delivering water and for treating water.
No, we can't talk about the lift station. Lift station's not.
I'm just using it as an example. Oh. But that being said, I don't mind paying our part, But just because you have a budget constraint doesn't mean that the EDC has a budget constraint. And we took the full load on something a couple of months ago that y'all didn't take anything on except for overseeing the project.
We provided the pumps for the project. We furnished the pumps.
And in relation percentage-wise to the overall thing.
I don't know what the percentage is, but we did furnish the pumps. We did
Okay.
oversee the construction management.
You gonna go?
But isn't that your lift station?
I don't own lift stations in the city of Port Arthur.
I know, but Port Arthur owns the lift station.
The city of Port Arthur.
We built it and turned it over
well,
to the city.
Okay.
So it's your lift station, your pumps, your problem.
In a way, it's the EDC's lift station that we maintain for you, operate and manage.
Well,
I don't think so.
let me say this.
I don't
This
think
is
so.
this has become a philosophical discussion about where who takes responsibility for what. We have a motion that we have an agenda item. We understand that it's based on the budget. Mr. Stokes, where will this impact come from? This budgetary impact to our budget? Do we have the funds available
Yes, in our development.
in
line
our
item.
development
Yes.
department? Okay.
It's not gonna,
Do you have a breakdown of the percentages?
in terms of the overall proposal, yes. Last month, brought to you a 70-30 split, and Director Albright was very appropriate in shooting that down and asking me to go back and try it again. So we have basically reversed the load, whereas before I was proposing 70% that the EDC would take care of. That's now down to 35%, and the previous 30% that the city was going to cover is now at 65%.
One very important point also is the 350,000 gallons that will get us to that 75%. To get it from residential to small businesses will take a long time. But to get that from the EDC, like I said, one client as MPW will get us there very quickly. MPW themselves will increase their production, and they've been talking to us about that as well. And that also is why, you know, the EDC is paying at 34.7% versus what the city is paying, because to the city, to us, it's not an urgent study today. But we want to do it because of what we're seeing might happen at the EDC.
So you're saying that it's important to the EDC that we do it today, not to the city as a whole? It's more important to EDC because of the business part.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Mr. Hall?
Mr. Stokes, has MPW been talking to you about another expansion?
MPW will, their leadership will be here on the 12th, and we'll be sitting down with them. That'll be more than likely one of the topics of conversation.
Right.
Well, then, I move to table until we find out what they want to do.
But I think, go ahead. No?
I've been second.
So it's a second.
The second.
Okay. You move to
To
table?
table.
Okay, how do we get the other motion off the floor? We just go in and,
We gotta go back to it, right?
I don't know, I'm not a parliamentarian. Was there an original motion to
yeah,
approve?
the original motion was to approve.
Yeah.
So do we have to,
Well, I would vote on that motion first and see what happens. Well, I mean, I would hand it
Well,
to
to
her.
me-
It's a sub-motion.
I'm not a parliamentarian. I don't want,
It is a sub-
sub-motion,
then
and then you move forward.
y'all figure it out. I'm not a parliamentarian.
Okay.
It's not a legal issue, it's
Interesting.
a procedural
Interesting.
issue. This board is in charge of the procedural issue, so however y'all want to handle it, it's
it's
fine
been
with
moved
me.
and second to table agenda item number 1. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition?
Hey,
Nay. Okay.
I would suggest.
Motion,
I would like to suggest.
that motion, let me close the
Okay, I'm
motion.
sorry.
That motion passed. Now we need to go back to the original motion, which was to approve. So as a result of that, that motion failed as well. Yeah, it failed.
I know, at least know that much.
Yeah, it failed, yeah.
It's
Well,
been
I
tabled,
knew
so
that too.
there's nothing else to do.
I knew that too. Okay. You had a comment?
Oh, I had a comment.
Oh, well, we closed the motion. It's failed. We're done.
No, this is in the future, for the future.
Well, no, if it's tabled, it automatically comes.
Yeah, it comes
Unless you
back.
specify
It
that.
comes back.
It
It comes back the
automatically
next,
comes up at the
yeah.
meeting.
Well-
Which time Mr. Stokes will have his meeting with MPW, so he can give us direction on where we need to go.
Yeah, that's, I think, direction you need
Absolutely.
to give, because a motion to table is actually a motion to kill it, which means it doesn't come back. A motion to postpone indefinitely, a motion to postpone to a date certain would have brought it back at a different time.
A motion to table brings.
Let me talk
It,
while you're
it
looking.
doesn't really matter. It's form over substance. You've made a motion to table. If you'd like to give him direction to bring it back at a different meeting, that's perfectly acceptable right now.
Mr. Stokes, would you please bring this back at the next meeting, after your meeting with NPW? What?
That's correct.
Yeah,
No problem.
thank you. Yes, sir.
I just wanted to make a comment to them, because the next meeting is going to be another meeting. All I want to suggest, if they bring some decision makers here,
Who would that be?
I don't know, the city finance.
They
city-
are, well, they are the city, though. I mean,
Well,
they represent the water department, which is the project. The money is financially available to them at the amount that they said. And what they're saying is they're asking us for the 35%. And
Okay,
they're asking us
okay,
that.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay,
We'll put something else on the agenda.
okay, all right. Okay, we'll move on to non-consent agenda item number 2. Review, discussion, and possible action regarding the approval of the terms and conditions of an economic incentive infrastructure grant with Corporal Enterprises. May I have a motion? May I have a motion? Anybody? No motion?
I don't know what that is.
Mr. Stokes?
Deputy Mueller, would you provide the board with background on this?
We can't even open it up. You have no motion?
There being no motion,
I so move.
I need a second, please. Motion,
You can second.
okay, I'll second it to get it
Second
on
if
the
you want.
floor. Okay. Get it, okay, second. Any discussion?
What is this?
Board directors, in front of you, you have, Okay, there we go. In front of you, you have a project that came before the EDC as an infrastructure project. In the past, you all have considered infrastructure for developments that bring 2 or more businesses to the site. This would qualify as one of those projects. It is a development on Highway 365 that will result in 2 or more businesses on the property. We have taken the plans and the costs to our engineering company that does that contracting for us. They've reviewed the plans and have come back with their recommendation as to what the costs are for that project. If you all do decide to move forward with this, the 40% that the EDC usually takes on for the infrastructure of the project would come out to $140,120.
I had a question, I guess, for you, because you've done it. I think a couple of months ago, the board decided the staff was going in the wrong direction, and y'all was figuring all this out without coming to the board. Y'all didn't get any approval for this from the board to go forth with this. Or did you?
If you're speaking of the letter of intent and all, that's a procedural question. I would defer to Mr. Stokes for how
Okay.
his process for procedures are.
And Director LeBeau, I do not have any recollection of what you're speaking of, but it's neither here or there. Procedurally, we, back in March of 2023, implemented a change to our process in terms of application that was then approved by the board at that time, during which you served as president. I have not received any redirection to that effect. Nothing can move forward without the board's approval. So I'm not sure what you mean by the board hasn't approved. That is in fact exactly what we're doing right now, seeking your approval to move forward with this particular project.
This is to discuss possible action. That's more than discussion. You want us to vote on $100 and something, $200 something thousand. You didn't come to the board. It's the first time I ever seen this. And I don't know if any other board members seen this, but this is not our process. And I'd like you to find and bring to the next meeting where we approve this. And if we did, then we'll reject it and go back the old way, because what you're doing is putting the cart before the horse. And if we go back to the old way, we never had a problem.
I'd like to ask that we not table, but move to the next meeting this agenda item so that we'll have some clarity on our process. I think.
Madam Vice President.
Yes, sir.
Speaking of the word clarity, I would humbly ask that the directors add this component to their upcoming workshop. I think clarity is the word, the optimum word. Folks talking about old ways and old days and living in the past, moving the corporation forward. And clarity on how we are going to move forward would be greatly appreciated by myself and my team. So I would humbly ask that that would be considered to be added.
Information for me, we just got to say. And this is something I have requested over and over again in this meeting. So all we're saying that we received this earlier, not today, it wouldn't be the problem. We received the information day up, day up. And you know in the past, I've asked, can you please get these items to the board days in advance?
And yes, ma'am, and right there with you, don't disagree at all. And that is a part of clarity, is like you just said. Had you received it, had time to deliberate, ask questions, duly noted. And that is something that we can agree on. And on times like tonight where you don't feel like you had enough time, then that can be simply tabled. That is different from following an incorrect process or somebody's old process.
Yeah,
That's different things.
Let me say, we have a motion on the floor for an agenda item. We have a lot of discussion, but we need to discuss this item. So I ask that we table it until we provide clarity. Okay, it's been moved and seconded to table this agenda item to provide the board with clarity so that we'll have our processes in place. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition? Motion carries. We'll move on to the next agenda item. And with that, Mr. Stokes, if you would add that to our workshop agenda item. Non-consent agenda item number 3, review, discussion, and possible action regarding allocating job training funds for 3 additional Port Arthur residents, 2024 high school graduates to attend a 2-year training program at Lamar State College, Port Arthur, for a total of 8 scholarships for fiscal year 2023-2024. We've had previous discussion about this tonight. May I have a motion? It's been moved and second to approve allocating funds for 3 additional 2024 high school graduates. Any discussion?
Yes. When you was discussing it early, Mr. Stokes, you said you was around these kids doing whatever. You found some good kids, which is cool. I hope you didn't tell them that they was getting a scholarship.
Nothing like being misquoted. I did not say that I was around the kids. I reviewed the applications. Being around the kids would be a conflict of interest, sir, and therefore, no communication between me and the children.
Okay, I noticed you have 23, 24 fiscal year. So do you mean it's for 24, 25, 23, 24? So you would like to give these additional 3 scholarships this school year?
That's correct.
2 children who have just graduated.
You got it.
Okay. Get a question?
Yes. Well, I'm not against this. It's not a budgeted item for this year. And we're just, while I can't talk about the financials, we're moving money like a Ponzi scheme inside this budget, okay? And I'm all about it, but it's something I would like to discuss and put in next year's budget. I'm not against it, and I'm not even gonna vote on it, just because, I mean.
And let me add, I don't have no problem. You know, I believe in making sure that our kids get scholarships and what have you. But this late date, they done graduated already. I just don't feel like we should include 3 more students. I think we should hold off until the next school year because it's not a part of our budget. If you asked us probably early in the year, we would strongly consider. But this late date, unfortunately, I hate that for the students, but we have to do things in DC in order, and I think it should have probably been brought to us early in the year if we see where we want to, because 5 scholarships went to Memorial, but it probably broken up to probably 3 to Memorial, 2 to Bob Hope, and probably 1 to, so I don't know why y'all made the choice to give 5 to Memorial. That's fine, I made that choice. But I think that we should include it to the next. I have no problem, like Mr. Albright, to add as many students as we can to receive a scholarship, but not 3 for this year.
Testing. I would support the continuing with the addition of 3 scholarships. I think financially the money is appropriately placed in the budget. It's in the budget, and it will not harm the budget. And anytime we can give students an opportunity to enhance his or her education and give them the opportunity to get financial support, I think that the timing of it is not bad because scholarships will be coming to kids as late as September. Some students will enroll at a college or university, and when they get to the college and university, they will find that they qualify for additional scholarship funding. So I think that if we have the funds, and we're talking Port Arthur citizens, Port Arthur students, and we are talking students, and I'm not even it's not the Memorial students that I'm fighting for right now. These students don't attend Memorial High School, but I do know that students need additional funding to go to college.
And I agree with you, Dr. Getwood. We did have a deadline of when these students were supposed to submit the applications and when we was going to furnish the scholarship. So I understand that they probably will be receiving scholarship throughout September, but we had a deadline of when they supposed to submit the application as well as when we was going to issue the scholarship.
Well, let me ask,
Maybe I'm not clear. None of these kids missed any deadline.
that's what I thought.
I didn't say that. No, there's no deadline missed. It's just simply that we had more qualified folks than we had available funds, available scholarships, and I'm simply asking for 3 additional scholarships. But it wasn't that these folks missed any deadlines.
Okay, but I'm saying that you already administered scholarship, if you mentioned it was 5 students that already received scholarship. That's what I meant by deadline. Did you already give out 5 scholarships?
Yes, that is correct.
But that was not within a deadline. Those 5 scholarships were given to kids who were deserving it, and it was at the awards day program, et cetera. And we're now looking at an opportunity to fund scholarship opportunities for 3 other students. I have a hard time not supporting something for students.
I agree with that. Was there additional funding that became, what prompted, I guess the better question is what prompted us going back out and looking at 3 additional students? I really,
The applications were considered as they came in.
I see.
So we're not jumping around or 2 from here or just that. So coincidentally, the first 5 just happened. And emphasize enough happened to go to the same school. However, as we continue to review folks that have applied on time, it just so happens that 3 additional folks happen to have equivalent qualifications to those 5 before. This is simply one CEO making a decision about something that I thought we were kind of keen on in terms of the various reasons of the program we started in the first place.
Right.
For whatever reason, it is the pleasure of this board not to extend the program to these 3 additional students. That's fine.
Did we have a specific dollar amount in the budget allocated for scholarships?
Yes, for 5.
For 5. Now we have a place that we have to move money into that line item.
That is correct.
So are we going to vote on moving the money? Or is it within the 10% rule?
Yes and yes, you are approving the movement by approving the motion. And as I mentioned in the backup, this movement from the line item that we are targeting is not going to adversely impact the operation of this corporation over the remainder of this fiscal year.
No, please, go ahead.
I did hear Mrs. Holmes ask the question, and I know that a lot of times when you're dealing with funding, there is a 10% variance there. And if we haven't exceeded that 10% variance, I just need to know if it's applicable to this situation, because in all of my dealings with funding, I was always operable to move 10% of the funding without impacting the budget, without bringing it back to the board. So,
That was my question.
And yes, ma'am, we are within that range. I made doubly sure that Ms. Jaquette, our financial manager, before I took this to you, checked and double checked. So again, no adverse impact. We're talking 3 kids at $13K. And like I say, going forward, I will be recommending that the program be doubled because of its demand, its participation, and there will be no decrease in the demand for the jobs that are targeted by this 2-year program.
Okay.
I heard you say that The kids had a timeline in your comment just now. Kids had a timeline.
I really don't recall using the word timeline, sir.
Yeah, I heard you. So are you continuing on looking for kids to put on there, or are you just shutting it down now?
Again, I apologize, sir. It must be fatigue. I'm not following you.
Well, it's
If you're
very
talking about the
simple.
deadline for the applications was week before last, we are talking about folks that have been reviewed and processed, and this particular item is simply to fund 3 additional folks. Maybe what you heard me say is that going forward in the future, fiscal year 24, 25, 25, 26, it'll be my recommendation that the program be increased. Sorry if I caused any confusion.
There is I forgot what there is on the floor. There's a motion and a second on the floor to approve. There's been discussion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition? No. Motion fails for lack of a majority. All right. Agenda item number 4, review, discussion, and provide direction to staff on the frequency of receiving budget reports and in what format. Mr.
Motion.
Okay, it's been moved and second. It's been moved and second. Any discussion? Mr. Stokes.
Yes, just by way of additional background, feedback. Going back to June of last year, the then Finance Committee, which those members are still in place, at the request of legal, put into place the acceptance of quarterly reports, that those reports would be overtop anything else that was produced and would require a actual motion and action by the board to receive said report leading up to the overall receiving of an annual report. A format was agreed upon by that group. That group then brought that to the board as it was constructed at that time, and that was implemented beginning in October. Okay. So look at that as one format that is out there. Since that time, we've had additional board members come on, and there's a desire to basically go to a monthly report that matches what I'll call the previous format, pre-quarterly reports. So look at that as a second format. Director Albright, a couple of meetings ago, made it very clear that it's just kind of a little bit hard to follow, and he suggested some tweaking, and that tweaking is one of the offerings that are in your report, in your packet. So you see 3 different offerings. And basically what I'm suggesting, I don't want to make this eventual workshop all day, but directly to Director Albright, it's kind of my request, humbly, for the full board, but I am specifically talking to Director Albright because we're not hitting the mark that I believe that he wants. And I understand about having someone here answer questions, but if we are not agreeing upon what the format's going to be, then it's kind of difficult to make sure we zero in. So I want to make sure that we're producing what you want in terms of format. I gather that the quarterly report is probably going to go away for the time being, and that's perfectly fine. Probably requires at some future board meeting an action, since there was an action taken last summer to adopt that format. And then we're back down to the 2 different monthly reports, and it's just a matter of what provides the board the information that it needs. And I'm going to humbly suggest again, Madam Vice President, that that also, under the umbrella of clarity, be something that we talk about at that workshop. And at that point, we can have folks on hand, just have a conversation. Right now it's hit and miss, and that's not fair to you, and it's tough for staff to guess at what you want. So long story short, I'm going to suggest that we add that as a topic, and let's talk about it. We can come out of that workshop amongst many things that we're going to try and add clarity to. The financial reporting would be an additional clarity. And unless, again, the board tells me differently, I think that you want that on a monthly basis in accordance with the bylaws.
I'd like to see it in a monthly basis, but I'd like to see it like this meeting as of this past Friday, just like your checkbook at your house, up to date. That's it.
Sir, no argument from me whatsoever. I wholeheartedly agree with you. Let's, as a group, agree on the format, and that'll be much easier than for repeatability to zero in and make sure that you do get things like, Director Raymond, and I don't want to, let me quote you. A lot of this is because things are up in the air. Let's get them down to the ground level, be in agreement, be of one accord, and we can move forward. There doesn't need to be this differings of opinion. We should be talking about business as opposed to format of reports. So I gather monthly, and that's something that you can certainly vote on the action. I would, Madam Vice President, humbly suggest that in terms of format, that be added to something that we discuss at the workshop.
Just for a point of clarification at this juncture, currently we are in the mode of accepting, based on the vote of members of this board previously, we're in the mode of doing a monthly report.
Quarterly.
A quarterly report versus the monthly report.
Yes, sir.
And that was voted on earlier.
Last July.
Okay, so we really need to see if we can continue with what we voted on, because it seems as though we are being stalemated and tied to things that have happened in the past. And we want to go forward, if possible. And we have voted on this.
And I think that's absolutely correct. I mean, until something changes, we should be getting quarterly reports.
Okay.
I mean, until that changes. And so where are we? Where are we now?
There's not a report presented to you for vote tonight for the very things that we're talking about. Myself and my team were not sure as to what you wanted presented. So again, that's why we're asking for direction.
Yeah.
That's simple as that.
Let me just make a recommendation that whatever it is already voted on, that's what we do until we vote to change it.
Okay.
So anytime, I mean, I understand we all want to do that, but that can be brought back as a vote. Somebody's mic is on. To be brought back as a vote to change. But until such time, Mr. Stokes, move forward with the directions that you have, especially if it came to you in a vote. Just a recommendation.
Okay.
Well, I would say the way it's going is very few people know what's happening with the budget. I don't think anybody here on the board, and maybe Scatwood would know, where our money's at. Looking at this, we don't know. It's so far behind, we have no clue.
When should we be receiving our quarterly report? When is it due based on?
1 month after the ending of the previous quarter.
And so when would that be? When are we due for?
So it would have been today for the previous quarter. I'm not presenting it today because of this dynamic. We aren't in any way, shape, or form behind. But again, I duly noted on what's been voted on, and let's provide clarity at the workshop.
I think we can look at it again at the workshop, but it is very clear that we're recommending, we've said a quarterly report. So the board needs to receive a copy of a report. Any other discussion on that item? Okay,
Yes.
yes, sir.
What I'm going to be looking for at this workshop is, all we have is the budget. I want to know what contracts are enforced that impact the budget, and I don't mean grass cutting. I mean agreements that the board has made with businesses, and what our cash reserves are. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments?
I understand we voted for a quarterly report, but this has been an ongoing issue as well regarding the finance report. But we did vote on quarterly reports. Hopefully after the workshop, we will decide to move to monthly, because it's very important for us to stay on top of this. The thing is the finance report is starting to be it's an issue. So I think that we need to look at moving it to a monthly. But right now, we did vote for quarterly. After the workshop, I think that we should look at moving it to a monthly report. It's so easy to keep up with than going I know it's easy for you to put together, but it's easy for the board to consume and understand exactly what's going on with the budget. But again, we did vote 3 months, so we have to go to 3 months. But hopefully we will change it to the monthly report.
I think all of the agenda items that will be discussed in the workshop, if requiring a change in what we've already voted for, please note that we'd like to see it at the next meeting following the, okay, agenda item number 5, review, discussion, and possible action regarding the travel request of PA EDC CEO to attend Texas Economic Development Council's 2024 mid-year conference in Conroe. May I have a motion, please? So moved. Second. Any discussion?
Yes. Mr. Stokes, is this towards your certification?
No, sir, this is just normal professional development and representing the city of Port Arthur to the marketplace of economic development.
So you're going to be out of the office another 4 days this week? 3 days? Evidently you are. I'm looking at this.
This is
travel-
tomorrow?
Yeah, leaving tomorrow. Starts Wednesday. And looking over this travel request, did all these numbers come from the city or Rachel or however, these expenses?
Oh, I'm sorry.
The estimates are based on the hotel registration, the registration cost of the conference in and of itself, the government recognized meals and incidentals, which is what governs us. We can't go over that. So there are state and federal guidelines that we use to put the estimates together, plus whatever the conference says the costs are going to be themselves.
Well, what I see on this first thing is transportation. Can you explain that to me?
Yes, sir. That is the miles accrued miles accrued times the current federal and state rate minus my car allowance.
Why would you do that when you get a car allowance?
Minus his car allowance.
Yeah, well, I know, but we don't see it. That's right, kind of, yeah.
Welcome to tell you, car allowance is divided up over a 12-month period. So you look at that and you can take that and then divide it up on a weekly basis. You can take that and divide it up on a daily basis. So in this particular case, you have some, in round numbers, 130 some odd miles at the current federal rate of 0.67, and then you subtract whatever the daily rate of the car allowance is.
Okay, but the whole point of a car allowance is not to pay mileage, because we're paying for your car. All the maintenance is on you, the gas is on you, everything's on you. You don't get to double dip unless I'm wrong. Mr. Attorney, am I wrong that it's either a car allowance or you get mileage?
Wait a minute.
I'm not intimately familiar with his employment agreement, so I can't comment on
Do you-
what she's entitled to.
Do you abide by the city policy? Just a quick,
Yes, ma'am, and for whatever it's worth, two different financial directors have never rejected that, and they have to approve.
well, I think you have to go
Difficult.
back to the policy. I think it's within a certain number of miles. If you were traveling from here to 100 and some miles outside the city, the city policy, if you have car allowance and you travel outside of the boundaries of the city, then you don't get mileage.
All right, but I'd like you to tell me who in the city of Port Arthur has a car allowance.
I'm sure the city managers,
No, the city manager does.
and I'm sure some of the other
No.
department directors, well, they must have automobiles.
They have
I can't
automobiles,
speak to that.
and that being said, the city secretary and the city attorney also do not have a car allowance. And no one
Interestingly enough.
unless it's voted on, doesn't say that you can have a car allowance. It has to be voted on by the governing body, and it's only for the head. Now, I have never seen a car allowance that you're allowed to double dip in. And it's not a policy and procedure manual where you can do it. In the city? Yeah, this is it right here. I'll welcome anybody to look at it and tell me where it's at. Because I read the stupid thing.
Madam Vice President? May I suggest that you just remove that line and subtract that number out, and we move on to more important things?
I have one question. So when is the conference going to start? When is the conference? I didn't look at you. I apologize. Okay. The 22nd?
No, this week.
Oh, this week. Okay. So how long you been knowing about this conference, Mr. Stokes? Back in the house?
Director Raymond, as you mentioned a little while ago, things are based on votes. Last November, this body voted to remove that requirement as long as it was a mandated list of entities. TEDC happens to be one of those. In deference to conversations last month, even though there hasn't been a vote to change that, I decided this time to add it back. Do I have to? No. And I probably would have saved us trouble, but can't win. But until the policy changes, much like the quarterly reports, technically, I'm still under that guideline. But Director Raymond, 6 one way, half dozen the other.
Like you said, the votes all counted, and I'm gonna make a motion that we pull this, and you do not attend this meeting.
Well, you just vote no. But I have a question. Who else on the staff is going to this?
My financial officer and my business attraction and retention manager.
What's at the conference for each of those? And I can look back at it, but I'd just like you to tell me.
Absolutely. There are specifically 3 sessions that are focused on business retention and expansion that I want our individual to be aware of. There is a section on economic development, financial management that I want our financial officer to be aware of. As it relates to myself, certainly you all can vote this down. That's your prerogative. It just switches to vacation. As a speaker representing this organization, check the agenda. I'm going to be there regardless. So it'll either come out of my own pocket, and that's fine. I'll take the badge off and represent myself as a free agent, or I can represent the great city of Port Arthur and the Port Arthur Economic Development Corporation as I step to the mic. I serve at your pleasure.
Well, if you're gonna be a speaker, look like they would pay you. You can laugh at it, but that's how I feel about it. And again, I make a motion to decline your travel.
I have a, Mr. Stokes, please share with the group. You are expected to receive professional development, right?
According to the contract that was approved.
And there has been a budget established. And in that budget, money is allowed for you to go to professional development opportunities.
Yes, sir.
And to grow as a CEO, I would assume that you have to attend professional development opportunities, and staff members would have to attend professional development opportunities to stay abreast of current trends and procedures and policies within an EDC. So I'm thinking, and regardless to the vote and how they go, I support the fact that you could get continuing professional growth.
The only problem I have with this issue is that I understand you need to receive professional growth, but you're leaving tomorrow and it's on the agenda today. And I'm sure these workshops are not planned a month in advance, at least 2 or 3 months in advance. So only issue I have, if the contract already showed that you can go to these meetings, then you shouldn't have placed on the agenda. But to place an agenda and you leaving tomorrow, it is not acceptable.
And Mr. Stokes, remind me, and Ms. Holmes or whomever, I think the last meeting there was some discussion about the timing and what goes on the agenda. And I believe some discussion went to the fact that the board president could be notified, and then the board president could notify board members. That was the discussion. I don't know that anything was voted on, and I don't know what the past procedures were. But I do know that that is what we discussed at the last meeting because of a meeting that Mr. Stokes had attended. And at some point, we thought there was some conversation to whether it came out of his allotment, and it ended up he paid for it out of his pocket. So that I'm recalling that discussion, Madam Vice President, that we said we would get that information from our board president.
They was dealing with his vacation. We discussed that last month, and they was dealing with his vacation.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. It was not with his vacation. It was with a trip he took, though.
Say he was on vacation, and the president at that time, Mr. Anderson, stated that he knew about it, he apologized, blamed him, because he did not notify the board.
He didn't run it by the board, correct. And I'm saying that it's my understanding, and I don't have to always be right. I stand to be corrected at any time. Ms. Raymond, but I thought that the procedure last time was the board president would be notified when the CEO would be out of the office for professional development. And then the CEO, after notifying the board president would notify board of directors. But I'm not going to belabor or debate that.
No,
If I'm in error, we can move forward, but I think it's pretty minute at this point.
It's all about doing things correctly and being consistent in what we do. The president did not notify me about this meeting tomorrow. I don't know if you know about anybody other director, but if you're stating that that was supposed to occur as of last night's discussion, that didn't happen for this incident.
What didn't happen? I'm sorry. Oh, okay, well, that's fine. So, Mr. Stokes, I just want the board to know that I support information when it comes to professional development and our CEO being better informed regarding current trends and practices. And I understand the fact that it occurs tomorrow, and we are not privy to that prior to this meeting, but I still will re-emphasize the fact that the board president said he would notify us in the future, and this is the future.
Yes, and he did not, and my motion still stands.
Yeah. All those in favor, please, of him attending the meeting and the being reimbursed by the EDC. I think that is what you're asking, Mr. Stokes. Is that what the purpose of this is? Or is this an informational? It said, yeah, it says a travel request.
You're taking the action to approve the attendance.
Okay. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition?
No.
Motion fails for lack of a majority. Agenda item number 6, review, discussion, and possible action regarding the CEO's contract request of Mr. LeBeau. Mr. LeBeau?
Yes. Oh.
Well, okay. May I have a motion, please?
Second.
It's been moved and second to view, discuss, and possible action of the CEO's contract. Mr. LeBeau.
Yeah, looking at the contract, I think the board had some questions that was not, well, we voted, like he's going to say, we voted on it. So we'd like, I guess, Mr. Stokes to go through his contract, and looks like some stuff's on there
Tonight?
that wasn't before.
Tonight, we want to do that?
Sure.
Okay. I think this is a personnel matter or something. I need your recommendation on taking this to executive session. I don't think we need to discuss a whole contract in open session. I'm not sure parts of it.
Okay. Yes, the board has the right to have this, well, the board may go into closed session to discuss personnel issues, subject to the employee's right to request it to be held in open session. So it's the board's, if the board in the first instance would like to do that, then there's authority to do that, subject to the employee's right to have it in an open if that's his decision.
Madam Vice President, I'm sorry, it's not clear to me what it is that is being discussed. What I heard was there's something in the contract that's new.
Not new.
The contract was approved by City Council 2 months ago To my knowledge, it has not been taken back up or restated.
Yeah, one of them was, I'm not going to state how it is, that you could, with the board's approval, work on outside company or outside business or your job or consulting or whatever. Is that correct? Is that in the budget? Is that in your contract?
The contract is an element of the board of directors. You're asking me about something that is your instrument. So I don't know how to address the question, and Charlie, maybe I'm just not understanding.
Morris has it. But the thing it is this board would never have wrote anything like that in there, and we're just trying to find out who put this in the contract.
Well, again, I did not craft my own contract, so that's what's leaving me kind of confused. Mr. Levy, you were a member of this board when this contract was approved last November, so.
Yeah, you keep saying that, but you know, when you give us information right before a meeting and make us vote on it or have us vote on it without reading it, yes, it passed, okay? So let's
So you're
quit
saying
talking
that
about
between November and when it was passed in
Whenever.
March by the city council, you did not have a chance to review something that is an instrument of the board?
No, I have a life, man.
Well, wait, just a minute, gentlemen. Mr. Stokes, in your contract, just for clarity, if you know specifically, are you able to, based on your contract, participate in other employment while employed in this job?
I would not think so. Not something that I would have put in there. But for all I know, it may have been boilerplate, cut and paste from some other time, and I did not. I'll take the hit. I did not notice it.
All right.
Didn't think of it because it would have never crossed my mind.
Thank you. Specifically in the contract?
I think that we should remove this item from the agenda. I reread his contract and I found some similarity to his old contract. So I would like, now I know I can't remove it because I didn't place it on the agenda, so it's up to Mr. LeBeau to remove this item. I would suggest you remove it.
I'll push it to you. Go for it.
We discussed it and we move on. Yeah, we don't have to take action on it.
No, it's a discussion.
It's a discussion point. Okay. With that, any other comments? We'll move to the next agenda
Well,
item.
she's gonna have a
Oh,
comment.
I'm sorry. She wants to remove it. She wants to remove.
Okay.
Okay, agenda item number 7, review, discussion, and possible action regarding the CEO's relocation expenses. Request of Director LeBeau.
Yeah, I brought this,
Make a motion.
It's been moved in second to review and discuss and possible action regarding the CEO's relocation expenses.
right, I brought this up months and months ago, and it was just whatever. And I think my job here for the taxpayers to take care of their money the way we should. In his contract, I have an issue with his relocation. His relocation is for moving and relocation allowance. The EDC will reimburse the CEO actual expense up to $10,000 for relocation, including but not limited to packing, moving of household goods, transportation to Port Arthur, Texas, temporary housing. The CEO should provide receipts to the PAEDC for reimbursement. And I have a package in the front of each one of y'all. And it goes way beyond what I just read you.
The cost of his
What's that?
the total cost of his relocation?
No, the substance inside of it. I think he was short $600 out of 10,000.
So it was 9,400?
Yeah, that's not the issue. The issue was, it was for motel room, transportation, and move. And I'm looking at these receipts right here. It's unreal what I'm looking at.
But he didn't spend the $10,000? I mean,
It's gone, except 600.
and so you're saying that what he requested are not appropriate expenditures?
Exactly.
And that's based on what you just read to us?
Here's a good example right there. No, this is based on his receipts.
I think some of these things he removed. See, those things he didn't charge, that are probably highlighted there. He probably.
Purell hand soap,
These things like his rug, like he removed that. He may have purchased.
laundry and cleaning supplies, laundry and cleaning. We don't do that. The food, we don't do that. He has mileage in here. We don't do that. Maybe,
So are you
maybe
requesting
the
that we?
attorney could help us on this. I don't know.
know that.
Did you?
No, the
Did you
attorney
have
cannot
anything to
help
do
you
with
on
this?
this. I had nothing to do with what receipts were turned in to this board and what this board approved. I had nothing to do with that. I pulled up from my system, the original language from the agreement. The original agreement said the PADC will reimburse CEO actual expenses up to $10,000 for relocation, including but not limited to packing, moving of household goods, transportation to Port Arthur, Texas, temporary housing. The CEO shall provide receipts to PADC for reimbursement. My understanding is that he provided receipts to this board for reimbursement, maybe not all the people on this board, but to the board at the time. I would assume the board reviewed those reimbursements for purposes of appropriateness and accurateness, and they then approved it. But I was not involved in that process at all.
Well, can you give us some legal advice what we need to do then? Because this is not what you just read.
May I ask if we have? Okay. All right. I move that we move this agenda item to closed session, agenda item number 7. I'm sorry. Yes. Okay, attorney-client consultation at 7:50. Agenda item number 8, review, discussion, and possible. Can we just have one item left? 8, review, discussion, and possible action, discuss, and take possible action on new hires benefit package. May I have a motion?
Make a motion.
It's been moved in second. Discussion.
Mr. Stokes, does our new hire have an automobile allowance?
Yes.
Where in the personnel manual does it say you have the authority to do that? And I'm also curious why, for 3 weeks, I've emailed and texted you, why you've never been willing to answer me.
You have brought the issue, let me answer your questions in reverse. You've brought the question to the proper form. Do not take direction from individual directors, but you have now brought it to the board, which I do take direction from. So that addresses that. As far as your first question, I rely very heavily upon my learned counterparts, of which 6 folks worked with me on these negotiations and the eventual reaching of an agreement. And I'm very, very sure that those folks are very cognizant of the personnel manual, since in most cases they were responsible for writing it. Yes, I would humbly ask, and if they were here, they may ask the same question, would you point out where it is incorrect to provide such?
Well, no, it's just not in there, except for one place, and it requires a vote. It also, but, well, you have that position in the budget, and you created a new position, but that was voted on for the budget, which is fine. You've modified that agreement without telling the board, because that was not in it. There's no way it could have been.
The then construed board
Did not sit there and tell you, oh, give an automobile allowance and everything.
Sir, please do not interrupt me. I mean, I'm interested as how you know what took place. I mean, you're good. But as I was saying, a budget was presented to the then Board of Directors, which you were not a member of at that time. A personnel schedule, which is required by the same document that you are referring to, was presented. A salary range was presented. A benefits range was presented and was budgeted for. That budget was eventually approved by said body and implemented on October 1st.
Okay, so now we're back to the automobile and moving and relocation allowance.
That's a benefit. I'm not sure if I'm following you.
It's not a benefit inside the personnel policy.
Well, again, sir, I'd have to defer to the 6 individuals who all work for the city of Port Arthur that assisted me on this, up to the city manager. You know, they've all been at this a lot longer and probably, like I say, participated in constructing that. And at no time did they, in any way, shape, or form, say, hey, you're out of line here. It was simply double check. This is what was budgeted. This was what was on the personnel schedule. This is what was discussed. This is what was approved. How we then construct that on an individual basis, somebody else may receive something different.
No,
As
okay,
long as
no,
I'm...
No, and I'm fine with that answer.
Thank you.
I'm fine with that answer.
I have a question.
Yes.
Who's the 6 people? You keep referring to 6 people.
The folks that are my counterparts in human resources, the assistant city managers, and the city manager.
Okay, because I talked to the city manager about this. He said this is incorrect. No staff member gets a vehicle.
Or relocation, but we'll get that right.
Okay.
I would suggest that because
Yeah.
why someone would tell you something different than working with me day in and day out on this over the course of weeks.
No, I don't know either.
Yeah, I don't, Dr. Albright, I wouldn't even know how to answer that. You have to take people at face value. They're hired to do a certain thing, and I'd have to believe and trust that, well, you're not setting me up for failure. I mean, you're going to have to sign this thing too.
Well, I think we've had enough of,
No.
yeah, you want to
Yeah, I have
ask-
something else.
Okay, go ahead.
Instead of waiting a whole month, why don't you just have the city manager and your other 5 people come over here and let's discuss that with them?
We don't, you mean call a special meeting?
Call a special meeting. Or put it in writing. I want to see it. Because I done talked to the head man and he said that's wrong. So the ones below him didn't act correctly or whatever. So whatever y'all want to do, that's the board's decision. But within 2 hours, I'll find out again this afternoon if this is correct.
So
And-
the question then is, and I want to be sure, we want to know if it is the city's practice to allow for relocation fees of a staff person. Is that
An automobile.
and an automobile allowance? Is that the question?
Yes.
Okay.
And one more thing I'd like to know, it's kind of confusing. When was her real hire? Can you tell me that?
She was just recently hired, wasn't it?
Well,
Are you
These-
talking about the start date?
yeah,
April 22nd?
and
April 22nd?
Yes, ma'am.
we had a meeting on April 22nd, and we had a meeting on May the 6th, and that's when you introduced us to her. So what happened in between there? I mean,
On the
why
week of the
wouldn't you have
20
told us on the 22nd that you hired someone?
Because primarily the person was not here, they were at training, and
Never thought it was
everyone knew
necessary.
that I was building towards hiring someone. I'm not sure, I just don't even know how to address your question. What, the person was not here to be introduced to you. When they were here, I introduced you.
Yeah, I didn't need to see a face. You could have just told us, you know.
Duly noted.
There being no other agenda items, we do have to go into closed session at 7:57, I'm sorry. Yes. I have to read my statement. We'll go into closed session at 8 o'clock. Let me see your agenda.
So we wait around?
Well, we're going now. It's 7:57.
Okay.
That's what I was getting at. In order to comply with the requirements of Chapter 551 of Open Meetings Law of the Texas Government Code, prior to going into closed session, the presiding officer to the City of Port Arthur, Section 4A EDC of Directors should make the following public announcement. A closed meeting or executive session will be held pursuant to the following sections of Chapter 551 related to attorney-client consultation. At this time, we'll move to the executive session.
We need to keep
I'd like to reconvene the regularly scheduled meeting of the Port Arthur EDC at 8:07. We have one last business item. Oh, I'm sorry, roll call.
Beverly Raymond. Kayla Jacobs. Jerry LeBeau.
Here.
Morris Albright. Ingrid Holmes.
Here.
Daryl Anderson. Melvin Getwood. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Okay, there being one last business item, a list of agenda items for the next meeting. It's not on the agenda, but.
Yes.
Huh?
How can we put them together?
I don't have a clue. Mr. Stokes may be able to help us with that. We had several agenda items that you want to consider. And Mr. Stokes, I know you were taking some notes, and so we will take it from your memory and the emails or texts that you may get from some of the other board members on what needs to be considered for the next
I would
board
like-
meeting.
at this time-
Specifically, go ahead.
Specifically, I would like to see on the next agenda regarding the EDA grant in the press building. Also, the status of the ribbon cutting and the open house for the businesses as well as the community. What else? What I can think of right now? Yeah, I just put on, that's the main situation. Ribbon cutting, but I still want, I agree to the ribbon cutting, but we still need to have the open house, so the community knows exactly what's going on with the press building. Okay? We did agree to ribbon cutting, but that's why I'm placing it back on the agenda for open house. The agreement is a ribbon cut. but I want to place it back on the agenda to consider still having an open house. And
Any other comments?
Yes, when is our workshop?
so when is it?
June 4th?
24, thank you.
All right, and we are putting the financial report.
On the
Okay,
work.
all right.
Okay.
Anything else,
Yeah,
Mr.?
and maybe, Charlie can help with this. I want to know, talk about the lift station again.
Lift station or the water?
No, the lift station.
Oh, okay.
And I want to be able to talk about your move to Port Arthur, May the 14th.
That move is complete. No? Okay.
What's that?
That move is complete, sir, and copies of my lease have been provided to the president and treasurer.
What? Okay.
Been provided to who?
President and treasurer.
To who? I didn't hear.
The president and the treasurer. A copy of his lease.
Shouldn't the board know about this kind of stuff too?
They are at, sir, I can't direct them. I made sure that folks that were on the top levels, and I just assumed that they would distribute it out there at their
Well,
leisure.
Again.
I just want to
we
make sure
discussing-
that, initially, I just want to, I'm sorry, sir. Initially, I wanted to make sure that it was understood and covered on time. Check that off. Wanted to make sure that folks that I knew would treat things appropriately, had the information, and then they can then move on to distribute it as they see fit, and I'm sure they will do that.
Well, we've seen quite a bit of stuff that they haven't pushed through, so maybe you could just go on and give it to us each time. Bypass them or whatever.
Okay, these are the agenda items that we want to consider for the next meeting. Any other agenda items to consider for the next meeting? There being no other agenda items to be considered for the next meeting, may I have a motion to adjourn at 8:12? It's been moved and second to adjourn. Have a good month, ladies and gentlemen.